So hello everyone, and welcome to another workshop on basic cloud computing. Okay, so with AWS as such. Okay, now what exactly is cloud computing? Let's just do a small brief on cloud computing. So cloud computing is a model where you are able to create servers. A basic example would be the ability to create servers, or a resource server anywhere anywhere around the world, anytime. Okay, and it is accessible from anywhere around the world, anytime as such. And it is a pay-per-use model. So basically, if I were to give you an example, AWS has got hundreds and thousands of servers around the world at different locations, and again around the world. And these are like massive servers. Now what happens is that they're not just sitting there. Lakhs or hundreds and thousands of people, or millions of people, maybe not millions of people, but hundreds and thousands of people would actually be using it to deploy their applications, access their applications, etc. over there. So just like we have a virtual machine on an Oracle, a simple example would be a virtual machine on an Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, in the same way, these particular servers which are online, they too are virtual machines. They are created via some sort of software, and they are created on specific servers which are online, and they're given a public IP. A public IP allows you to connect directly or SSH directly into these particular machines. Now, so that being said, let's just probably get into a little bit of AWS. Now, AWS is also it's the largest cloud provider right now in the world. Okay, it's the largest cloud provider. Now, what happens is that all you have to do to make sure that you are able to use AWS is probably go to console.aws.com. Even if you're not, so consider that you're not logged in, go to console.aws.com. Once you go there, say you do not have, you don't really have access yet. So you go there, you register yourself. Okay, once you register yourself, you probably need a debit card or a credit card to register yourself. Once you register yourself, you are able to, so they'll deduct a nominal fee initially, so that your credit card or debit card gets into their system. Once that happens, you would have access to a whole lot of free services for about a year. So that is the simplest thing. So you would be able to launch if I'm not wrong, a T2 micro instance, okay, for about 750 hours per month for free. Okay, that's one of the basic things as such. Okay, now you would be able to use a whole lot more, and we will just maybe go through that a little later, afterwards, and see what are the various free options that you actually have which you can use as such. Okay, now let's go ahead and start using it. So I have actually logged into this console. Okay, once you log into this console, you'll see a couple of things lying out here and there. Okay, so on the right hand side you see various things here. This one, it says Virginia. So North Virginia is basically one of the regions as such. Okay, one of the availability zones. Now let's go with this first. So we have what is known as regions first. So you see, you've got the US region, you've got the Africa region, you've got the Asia region or the Asia Pacific region, Canada, Europe, Middle East, South America. Okay, these are various regions around the world where AWS has got its servers. Okay, US, Africa, Asia Pacific, Canada, Europe, Middle East, and South America. Now, beside this, what else do we have? So you see, within these various regions, we've got these smaller locations, North Virginia, Ohio, California, Oregon, Mumbai, Hong Kong, all these particular places as such. These are known as availability zones. So what exactly it means is that these are the places where a specific set of servers are kept. So this is one place, this is one place, this is one place, this is one place. Now, here's an interesting fact. Okay, all the systems between the US region are connected to each other by, really fast networks as such. So in case you have a machine, a virtual machine in US East, North Virginia, and you've got one more in Ohio, the communication between these two machines would be, tremendously fast as such, extremely. Now, say I have a machine here in US East and one more, say, in Asia Pacific. The communication between these two, yes, regardless, AWS has got really good networks and it is fast. There would definitely be, few, few microseconds or milliseconds, depending on what you use, of delay as such between these two when there is a communication between different regions as such. So different availability zones, extremely fast. Same availability zone, even more faster, but with different regions, not considerably, a little low, slower as compared to different availability zones. So that's, your basic understanding. Now, what happens is that at various locations, these are also known as edge locations. Okay, these are the locations where you have various servers present as such. I'm not talking about virtual servers. Virtual servers is what we come to next. So at these locations, what happens is that, for example, I'm right now sitting somewhere, say in Mumbai. Okay, if I'm sitting in Mumbai, what happens is that I am able to, and I have created a server in Mumbai. I would be able to access that machine extremely quickly because it's the closest location to me. But say I have a machine, say in Milan, okay, it would be a little slower, okay, depending on the distance. So you should understand that when you design your applications, when you design your systems, you need to think about where your customers are. In general, think about where your customers are. So if they are in the India region, it would be, best to create, somewhere in Mumbai. Say you want to make it much more available, then you create it within the Asia Pacific region. It's much more easier because Asia as a whole is like one single region and the latency is lower as such. Okay, so that's a basic understanding over there. Okay. Now let's go ahead and look into how to create an EC2 machine as such. Now, what is an EC2? Okay, so it's basically an elastic compute instance as such. Now, what is an elastic compute instance? So last time we had learned about a virtual machine created on a virtual box, application. So it's a similar thing where you create a virtual machine on AWS servers. Okay, it's again quite simple, quite easy. And it's much more easier because here you don't really have to deal with creating a specific, you don't have to download an Ubuntu ISO or anything like that. You don't have to do specific network settings, though you can, okay, an advanced concept. So what you can do is either you can do this EC2 and you'll find this, or you can go here and you can do EC2. You can find it here. You can go over here. So you've got multiple locations from where you can actually search for, or since I had recently visited it, I can simply do EC2 here. Let me just click on this. Okay. So what happens is that once you do that, you come to the, EC2 dashboard. Okay. And this EC2 dashboard shows you a lot of stuff as such. So it tells running instances, your elastic IP, security group. Don't worry about it. This is not something which you need to be bothered with as of right now. Okay. So what we need specifically is to launch an instance. So it says, here you've got something known as launch instance. To get started, launch an instance. So let's go ahead and launch a specific instance. Okay. Okay. So when you click on launch instance, you are sent to this particular panel. Here you've got a couple of things. So it says, free tier eligible as such, depending on these particular OS types as such. So like I said, you can use Ubuntu, you can use Red Hat, you can use Amazon Linux AMI. So Amazon Linux AMI is sort of a Red Hat based machine. Machine instance as such. But since we are really comfortable with Ubuntu now, we'll just go ahead with this. Select this. Okay. Now, depending on what sort of account you have. So it says that you have like this T2 micro. It tells free tier eligible. So it says micro instances are eligible for AWS free tier for the first 12 months. Following your AWS sign up date, you get up to 750 hours of micro instances each month. So that's more than 24 hours per day if you have this particular machine running all day through, which is a good thing for you. Okay, so you can have 750 hours free per month. So once you do this, I click on T2 Micro. Then, so either you can review and launch with absolutely no settings, but let's go with these settings as such. Configure the instance. So be careful when you set these particular things, knowing exactly what you need. So number of instances, I want a single one. So there are a couple of other things which you can also learn about. Maybe in the future we will, conduct more workshops, related to that. Okay. So it says auto scaling group. I'm not going to do anything. Request pod instances, nothing yet. Network. So what happens is that when you create an instance, these, in the current day with AWS, it creates an instance or a server in a VPC. Okay. Basically a virtual private cloud. So it will create a server within that particular VPC. That is basically a network where machines can be connected to each other as such. Then you have the subnet. The subnet basically points to your availability zone. You see that we had when you clicked over here, you had selected US East 1, and based on that you've got various subnets in any availability zone. So you've got East 1D, 1C, 1E, blah, blah, blah. So any of these availability zone. Okay. So you had the regions, the locations, and the specific availability zones. So these particular subnets, I don't have any preference as such. So if you have a preference, you can select. If you don't, it will automatically put it in a random subnet as such. So it says auto assign public IP. Okay, I'm not going to set anything. So it requests a public IP from the Amazon public address pool in case you set it up. Capacity reservation, no. IAM role, no. We're not going to do anything specific right now. Just keeping it very simple. And then you come here, you have this user data. So what this user data allows you to do optionally is you can write, small bash scripts, shell scripts as such, and do some pre-install, setup as such. For example, I want to say, I would say, I want to install PHP, or I want to install, say, MySQL or something like that. I can just do something like, hash /bin /sh sudo apt get install, say, MySQL server or something like this, or anything like this. I would probably put it there and it automatically installs for me. So by the time I log in, it's already ready for me as such. Let's go to add storage. So it says 8 GB is the default. I could increase it if I want to 10 GB, 12 GB, whatever. I'll leave it at the default. Next, add tags. So tags allow you to, filter through your machines easily. If you've got many machines, then you can tag it accordingly. So I'll put name as, say, test instance, something like this. So it tags the instances and the volumes based on what you want tagged. You can create multiple tags as well. Next, configure security. Now here, okay, this is an important piece, okay? Configure the security group. So it's a set of firewall rules that allows you to control the traffic to your instance. So you can add specific traffic to each instance. If you want to add a web server, allow internet traffic, add rules that allow unrestricted HTTP and HTTPS traffic. Now what I'll do is I will create a specific security group. So default, it will create a security group here. You can also select an existing security group if it's already there. There was one, but instead I'll create a new one. So test security, something like this. And here what it says is SSH, TCP, port range, blah, blah, blah. So basically SSH happens on your, the default port is 22. It uses the TCP protocol, okay? And here you can actually specify which particular IPs are allowed to talk to this particular instance which you're creating. Now, when I say 0.0.0.0, it means I am able to access this particular machine from anywhere around the world. So that is what it means to say. So I'll keep it open like this. But if you are, paranoid, or if you really want to restrict access to particular virtual private networks or VPNs as such, then you have to specify the details over here. Okay. You can find out what your IP is, and you can specify it so that only you can log into it, or you can keep it open, the SSH as such. But be careful. You should always restrict access as much as you can to this machine. Now review and launch. So I just want this particular thing to be available so that I can SSH into the machine. So it says so let's go previous. Yeah, there's nothing else to do. So review and launch. It gives you the basic details of what you've set. Okay, storage of 8 GB, tags, so and so, and I go ahead and do a launch. Now, when you do a launch, it will tell you, select an existing key pair or create a new key pair. So what happens is that it uses the SSH keys which you have in case you already have one. If not, it will generate one for you. So if you create a new key pair, it's like a lock and key mechanism to log into your machine. Okay, instead of a username and password, it's much more secure, by the way. So if you have an existing key, it will actually push the existing key identity into the machine so that you will be able to use the existing key. Or when you create a new key, I'll do it this way. Test AWS. Something like this, okay? You go ahead, download the key pair, okay? So it creates this test AWS key.pem and hit launch instance. Okay, so it says the launch status, your instances are now launching. It gives you this launch ID over here. You can take a look at the launch log if you want. So it's setting up various things. Let's go here, click on this. So it'll come back here, and you see it's pretty much that was pretty quick now. Now what can you do with this? Okay, what can you really do with this? I think so I didn't set up the tag correctly. Name should probably be capital letters, so it would set it correctly there. Now we want to SSH into this machine. Okay, so what do you basically do? So you've got this test AWS key pem. Okay, so let's do this. CP. I'll copy it to this location. Okay, and I have this test AWS key pem. Okay, So first thing first, you've got an Ubuntu machine. Second thing is you've got the public DNS, you've got the public IP. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just going to copy the public DNS right now. Okay, just copy the public DNS. Then I want to SSH it to the machine. So earlier I had shown you that, just by doing, Ubuntu @ so and so allows you to log into a machine. But in this particular case, since you have a specific identity key, you need to be, specific about it. So SSH -I test -AWS, so and so. So -I option with the SSH allows you to use the specific identity key as such and log into this particular machine. Now, this is not going to work and you'll know why, okay, in a second. So when you do this, you'll tell yes, okay. So it tells a particular thing, permission 0644 for test AWS key are to open. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to change the permission of the key. It's a warning from AWS. You cannot simply log in with any key as such. Okay, so what you need to do is you have to do this particular chmod, that is modify permissions 04000 and test AWS. Okay, you can check the permissions if you want on the key, ls -lrt, so and so. It is 04, that is 0, in the same 4 is 100, that is 100, 000, and 000. Okay, depending on the binary settings as such. Once you do this, let's log into it again. Let's see what happens here. There. And you are logged into the machine. That was as simple as that. You didn't have anything much to do. It's pretty straightforward. So your system is running, you are logged into the machine. Say, let's try out a couple of, what do you say, maybe a simple thing to start with. I'll set up a Flask web server on this. So Python, you have, its Python is not installed, but Python 3 is installed over here, which means to say, again, you can make use of this. Okay, so let's set up a Flask web server so that we can host something really simple and try it out here. So before we do that, sudo update. I always update my system. So once I do this, we'll move on to create a what do you say, Flask web server. Give it a couple of seconds. There, it's been updated. Now what we'll do is let's install, say, pip. Okay, so let's see if pip is already installed. Yeah, pip3 is not found. Sudo apt follow the command above or do this 3-pip. Okay, it's asking for additional space to install this. So pip is basically your Python packaging manager. So it allows you to install various Python packages from an online repository. Let's go ahead, just quickly install this. So you'll see what exactly happens next. Give it a couple of seconds. It just process a couple of things there. Okay, good. So that is done. Okay. So now if I do pip3, it will probably give me something. Yeah, then it'll tell you, the various commands. Now I basically need a simple Flask server as such. Okay. Now what we'll do is let's do this. Pip3 install Flask. I'm just going to install it locally without any virtual environment, so don't bother. Okay, pip3 freeze. rep Flask to see in case it's there. Okay, freeze. Yeah, so Flask has been installed. So what it does is I've done a pipe grep as such. So it tells, so if I do a simple pip3 freeze, if you've gone through my previous videos, you will know that, it will tell you all the particular installs in the Python package installs over here as such. So I just, specifically got only one particular thing over here, correct? Flask. So I got the Python Flask install. Now, let's quickly create a Python, or let's do this. We have a GitHub account in which slash so let's go with, say, repositories. We have a repository already over here, one of these repositories, and we will do a git clone of this. See, COVID, I think we already have Flask server here. So app.py, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's already there. We have a Flask server. So let's just run Python 3 app.py. So we need to do this. pip3 install -r requirements.txt, so that it installs all the requirements for this. Okay, that's good. Install the requirements and Python 3 app.py. There. So our, application is up and ready. Now, if you see, it's running in 0.0.0.0 location with 8080, which means it would be able to accept requests from anywhere, on the net as such, or locally as such. But for that, you need to have probably the IP or the DNS. Let's try to access it. So 8080, and the healthy location was /. Let's see what happens. So technically, it would not allow you to do this now. Okay, because if you see here, it's not getting anything. Over here, it is not getting anything, and you'd be wondering why. So for this to happen, so right now it's not accepting any incoming connections, because at an infrastructure level, you have not allowed the access to it. You only allowed SSH access. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to modify this SSH access, not SSH access. We are going to modify the security group a little bit. Okay, edit inbound rules, add rules, and we had opened up a port on 8080 for Flask over here. We'll keep it custom TCP. We'll do it 0.0.0.0, save rules, and there, that is ready now. So once it's ready, let's try that again. Hold on a second, my bad. Let's go to the EC2 dashboard, running instances, copy this guy, put this guy here, 8080, and let's see what happens. There. And you have access to this particular machine with the, to this particular Flask Web Server now. That is as simple as it gets. So there, you've understood how to create your own virtual machine on AWS. You've seen how to set up the security group. You've seen how exactly, so basically you can install any particular OS on that. Right now we've used only the free tier. We've seen how exactly to upgrade the existing instance with sudo apt-get update, and we've also installed a simple Flask web. We've installed through pip the Flask Web Server, and we used an online Git repo to just, run a simple Flask application. And we opened up a particular port so that, we are able to access this application online. Okay, so that's about it for today's session on AWS EC2.